What's up, guys? It's me, Lori, aka Loretta Child, the sex reporter, here to start objective conversations about sex, dating, and relationships. Recently, I've been running a series of videos all focused on women who are beyond the age of 30, 40, and 50 who are still single. Part of that was asking you guys to submit honest videos about the good, the bad, and the ugly about that experience.
Hey Lori, Chezza here. Last time we spoke, it was on Shan's channel, and we were discussing casual sex with a great panel of women.
Chezza had a lot of interesting things to say that day, and she had a lot of interesting things to contribute to this conversation as well. So today, what I'm gonna do is just share her full video submission from start to finish, just about her thoughts, answering a couple of questions about how she's single, why she's single, what it's like, and stuff like that.
I think this is a really important discussion to have because there's so many stigmas about being single over 30 that I think are ridiculous in this day and age, and I really want to talk about why. I'm 34, I'm single, and if you don't know me, I am Chezza. You can find me on YouTube at Chezza Outta Nowhere, where I discuss all sorts of things like this as well. So I'm single as fuck, and I am in a weird place about it. I'm gonna be honest. I'm 34 and I've always been pretty chill being single. Relationships get very stressful for me because I have an anxious love style, and I'm really comfortable alone. It's really easy not to integrate a person into my life. The beginning stages of relationships are really difficult for me because I don't do them so often. I don't date as much as normal people do. So when I like someone, I kind of over-like them too quickly. When I'm neutral about someone, I kind of don't follow through in any way, and so it's very difficult for me to build relationships. A lot of times I've built up a like for someone through friendship, and that can be very hard to turn over into a relationship. So I tend to just stick with the comfortability of being single. Now, if you had asked me this question just maybe a year ago, I would say I'm super happy being single. I don't want to be in a relationship. I don't intend to be in a relationship. I don't want a partnership, and I'm motivated, and I'm good with my life. And while that is about 80% still true, there is a part of me that could see how having a partnership would be really great for me. I'm not very traditional when it comes to relationships. I'm dynamic, flexible, but I do like having a focused partnership where we can depend on each other, mixed with maybe the freedom to make decisions without feeling like we're going to ruin each other's lives at the same time. And I think that's kind of normal being a millennial because we grew up seeing so many unhealthy monogamous relationship dynamics. And I don't care what anybody says, there's trauma in watching people stay together all their lives and do each other a lot of harm and damage, and resent each other because they didn't get to live their full lives. That's just as harmful as being from a single parent household, which I want to get into because one of your comments actually touches on this, and that's one that stuck out that I wanted to talk about the most. So one of your commenters said, I can never date a girl from a single parent home. And I saw that you wrote, you're lost. And yeah, you're lost, dude. But maybe not. Maybe you'll find someone who comes from a two-parent household as well. I hope that your two-parent household was really healthy. I come from a single-parent home with just my mother, and I'm not going to lie, that absolutely does affect me in my adult life. My mom was wonderful about my father. She never badmouthed him. They were great friends, and that's what it was. He had a lot of struggles. He had a lot of depression, a lot of anxiety, a lot of self-worth issues, and instead of keeping them in the house so that they would affect me, he went on about his way because he didn't want to put that on anybody else, and that did make our life a little harder as well. But I grew up respecting that people can split amicably, and that sometimes leaving is healthier than staying together, and being abusive and being miserable and being drunk. He had a drinking problem. He had all kinds of problems that would not have been healthy in the household. So I think him deciding to leave and my mother not holding that against him actually made me a much healthier person. It didn't give me an example of a secure attachment per se, but I think I've learned a lot about those attachments through friendships, through other friends, families, relationships. I've seen enough examples of them to understand how they work, even if that wasn't the dynamic that I grew up with in my home. So I wouldn't be so quick to judge people that come from single parent households. I don't think that's very fair. I think generationally, I guess in the later end of millennials, somewhere between, Gen X and millennial life. That used to be Gen Y, but I don't know if that's a thing anymore. But our parents were baby boomers. Our parents, spent their early adulthood coming up with war and with mass incarceration and heroin, crack, opioid addictions, all kinds of addictions that destroyed a lot of households. And so to say I couldn't date a girl from a single parent household is saying I really can't date someone from a whole generation that was born into a generation of parents that were really trying to figure themselves out. They were transitioning from a space of almost Stepford-like ideals of what family should be like. There was a lot of abuse going on back in the baby boomers generations in their households. There wasn't a lot of choice, and so when they became adults, they had a bit more choices. They also had a lot harder roads to fall into. Culture is gonna come into play with that as well. I'm an African American woman, so there's all kinds of things that play in that, and I think it's sad to think that men who could provide more secure attachments for women like me rule us out because they're afraid of the work that you have to do when you're involved in a relationship with another human being. And if that resigns me to being single for the rest of my life, then I'm okay with that, because what I don't ever want is a relationship built on me having to be perfect to sustain it. So the next comment that I wanted to address is someone said, "You're 30 and single, which means you're too shallow." And I beg to differ, sir. So personally in my life, the reason that I'm single is because one of the most important focuses for me is getting rid of poverty out of my life and bloodline. I don't want to have children. I don't want to continue my bloodline with poverty in my karmic cycle and keep putting that out. I'm not saying my mom shouldn't have had me. She loves me. I love having my life. I love my mom. She's done the absolute best she could with the circumstances and systems that have been put in place. So to think that my singlehood has anything to do with me being shallow is really it's just that's shallow. That's an extremely shallow statement. You have to realize that we are heading into possibly another Great Depression. There is so much going on in the world right now, and for some of us, a romantic relationship is shallow. For some of us, putting all our time and energy into that is as shallow as you think it is for us to be single. I don't want to put my poverty on my partner. I want to get into a space where I'm financially secure, I'm well traveled and cultured, my businesses are thriving because I'm self-employed. I am creative. I want to be successful in those things. I want to have a life of my own and be very independently stable before I end up in a relationship with someone, because I think that's really important. I don't want to be saved. I know that there are some women who put their time and attention into partnerships because that is the fix for those issues, but I've always been a very autonomous human being since I was a kid, and I want to figure out my puzzles myself so that my relationships can be light and so that my romantic relationships can really be a new journey, a fresh journey, not someone pulling me out of the trenches of my life. So I beg to differ on being over 30 and single and being shallow. There are so many reasons that people can be single, and for me it's because the time and attention that I would have to put into learning how to be with another person, I put that right now into fixing the things in my life that I need to fix and progressing my life in a way that I see it progressing. And if I meet someone along this journey that's right for me in this space, great. If I don't, that's fine. I will be very fulfilled on the other side of the current journey that I'm embarking on.
So that was Chezza's take on responding to a lot of the comments that women tend to get when they're single beyond a certain age, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. I think that each of the women who submitted videos for this project had a very different perspective in terms of having been married before or not being married before, having kids or not, and everything in between. I'm also going to publish the full submissions from the other women who contributed, who were featured in some of those earlier videos, and those are going to be available to my patrons on Patreon who support me for as little as $1 a month and get access to things like uncut interviews and extra content. What I love about this series is that whatever you think, it's always interesting to hear how other people are really going through an experience, because it opens the discussion up to what it's like for every individual and how different it can be depending on where you are in life, what you want, and what your goals are. So if you haven't subscribed, I hope you'll subscribe below. Remember to click the little bell next to the subscribe button so that you get notifications on all my videos, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.